Superhero teachers. Who are you as a teacher or the parent of a music student? What personal learning styles influence your teaching? I have a BS in psychology and have been certified as a Suzuki violin teacher for over 25 years. Been on the board of directors for the Greater Philadelphia Suzuki Association. My hope is that all these years of research, both in psychology and music, that I share with you will enhance your teaching experience. It is important for teachers to know how to teach each student regardless of his or her learning style. It is even more important for the teacher to know how they themselves learn. Ultimately, these innate tendencies will dominate teaching. Try to focus on what you discover to be your strong points. As time allows, work on your weaknesses, but don't focus on them. It is a natural tendency to admire those teachers with strengths where we have weaknesses. In doing so, we overlook the probable fact that our strengths are often their weaknesses. Take this test to evaluate your personal strengths and weaknesses and see how that extends into your teaching. Many of the questions refer to your responses to students in group situations. It is merely a way of identifying your core strengths. Try not to answer the way you wish you would have responded, but the way you have responded in situations in the past. You might not like your answers because they aren't what you admire. If you are honest, you might be surprised at the strengths revealed about your style of interaction with others. Remember, in this exercise, you are not limited by money or your immediate situation when choosing your answers. I will ask you a question and listen to the 4 answers. Just record which one most applies. When you ask a 3-year-old student the names of the notes and his or her responses, Pete, Jacob, and Fred, or ABCDEFGHIJ, do you give up on reading music for the time and assume the child is just too young? Pull out one of your books that you've collected, tried and true, and try it on them. Grab a sheet of colored paper and draw a staff and with a note and start all over again. Or D, tell her that she was adorable and put it in your memoirs. If you have a teenage student in a group lesson who is taking charge of the group with his or her contagious and disruptive behavior, do you A, feel a little overwhelmed and try and harness your impulse to put a zapper collar on him? B, create multiple small groups led by assistants and put them in a group away from the maddening crowd? C, give them a pep talk about group lesson manners? Or D, make them leader of the day? Number 3, if a group lesson student raises his or her hand as you're about to play Lightly Row and requests their favorite, Allegro, because they have to leave in 2 minutes, do you A, kindly decline because you need to play Lightly Row and a few others before you get to Allegro, and by the way, group lesson goes from this time to that time? B, have her play it as a solo so everyone else isn't thrown off the track. Ask the mom if she can stay a little longer since time is just a guideline, and so what if she's a little late for the next agenda? Or D, change gears and shout, Allegro everyone, and make it a real energy song. Number 4, if a child plays a solo at group lessons and the bowing is off, do you A, after they're done, kindly explain that the piece is bowed thus and so, and have them try it again? B, clap and cheer, playing it again with the whole group, subtly pointing out the unique bowing, not to single out the mistakes, but to make it clear that it needs to be done correctly? C, correct them with a little nudge to their arm and make it go in the right direction, but when they are done, have all the students try the incorrect bowing and see which way is the easiest? Or D, clap your hands, cheer, say, who is next, and deal with the issues in the private lesson, praising them for at least having the guts to get in front of others and play. If a student talks in a loud whisper or absentmindedly plucks the violin, like a guitar, while someone is asking a question, do you A. Stop talking and explain to the student what is expected behavior in group lesson during downtimes? B. From this point on, have a teaching assistant distract the students when you are busy, but under the circumstances, at this point, teach the students how to correctly pluck. C. Ignore the plucking because you're not a policeman, and what damage does it do really anyway? At least it's relevant to music. And D. Don't answer the student's question, but make it a group effort to find the answer. 6. What happens when a student shows up for a group lesson without their music or their instrument? Do you A. Give them a lecture about responsibility and make them sit out the group? B. Shift the lessons to games, working through the ideas behind what they are studying, such as the life of the composer or the structure of music? C. Share one of your violins or create a buddy system for another child to share when possible, or play past the violin. D. Take some time to listen to why the student didn't have the violin. He left it at school, the school was locked, and ask them what they would feel most comfortable doing. 7. If a student's string pops during a lesson, do you restring it immediately since your time is valuable and this will be considered part of the lesson time? B. Teach a lesson on strings, how and where they're made, what kinds there are, and have the student restring the instrument themselves. C. Teach them to play the pieces on other strings. Have them return another time with a new string, or have them leave their instrument so you can string it later. And D. Use one of yours or borrow a string from another violin sitting around. And number 8, and I think this may be the most telling of all the questions, when teaching a lesson or researching in preparation for a lesson, would you be subconsciously saying to yourself, A. Just the facts. B. How did this method develop? C. What's the point? Or D. How does this have any relevance to the reason why I'm teaching? Now look at your answers, whether they were A, B, C, or D. For question 8, count that answer 4 times. Click the follow button below, and then you'll be able to review what the different strengths and weaknesses, and then how it manifests itself in your teaching for each one of these different segments of teaching personalities. Some of the strengths of someone that had mostly A's might be that they work well within time limits, that they like beginnings and endings and tidy in-betweens. So be sure to click on the follow button below so that you don't miss out on any of the next few weeks' videos about becoming a superhero teacher, knowing how to have a story, to define your weakness and your special powers.